Now, a lot of guys think that moisturizing your hair is just adding some leave-in conditioner and calling it a day. But there's actually a way better technique that is more effective. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the LOC/LCO method. It's basically the same thing, just a rearrangement of the steps. And we're going to try and, break it down, make it a little simpler, a little easier to digest. So let's hop into it. So the LOC/LCO method is basically a layered moisturization technique in which you add products one after the other. It's actually an acronym. The L stands for liquid, the C stands for cream, and the O stands for oil. So essentially, the difference between the two is just the order or the rearrangement in which you add each product. But I don't want you to get too focused on the products themselves or which order that you add them in. I want you to focus more on the principle. The LCO method is basically a principle, a two-step one, in fact, in which you first add your moisture and then you seal your moisture. That's basically the two parts to it. So don't get too tied in with, oh, I need to add my liquid first and then the cream and the oil, or the liquid and the oil and the cream. Just focus on these two things. You need to add moisture to your hair, and then you need to add some sort of barrier to keep that moisture in your hair for the majority of the week. So think of it more like banking, right? So you got your bank account, you want to put money in your bank account, but that doesn't really matter if you're spending it as fast as you put it in, right? So you want money to go in, but you also want to have some sort of system to keep it in there. So an example of using the LCO method would be to use a leave-in conditioner for the liquid, then you could use a curl cream, and then you could add something like a jojoba oil. That's just an example of how someone would use the LCO method to moisturize their hair and keep that moisture in their hair for the majority of the week. The leave-in conditioner and the curl cream are basically going to add the moisture, and the oil is going to help to seal that moisture into the hair strand. Now, another example of the LCO method would be to just add water to your hair. Maybe you could spray it with water, then you could add something like a curl cream as well, and then you could follow that up with shea butters. Now, shea butter is much heavier than a regular oil, like a jojoba oil or tea tree oil or something like that. So that's going to help to retain that moisture. That's going to help to lock it inside. So those are just two examples of how you could use the LCO method, swapping out different products, but it's basically the same concept of adding moisture to your hair and then adding a product that's going to help to retain that moisture in the hair strand. So why do we do the LOC/LCO method? It just seems like a lot of work, and you're using more products, which is going to cost more money. Well, the reason we do the LOC/LCO method is that it helps us to moisturize our hair and keep that moisture in our hair for longer. So I know a lot of you have a problem with, or you have an issue with your hair losing moisture or getting dry throughout the week, and that encourages you to wash your hair more frequently. But we've already learned that washing your hair frequently isn't the best when it comes to type 3/type 4 hair. So it's in our best interest to keep our hair as moisturized for longer. Does that make sense? I swear I forget English when I'm recording. It's in our best interest to moisturize our hair in a way that helps us hold on to that moisture so we don't have to wash it or manipulate it as frequently. Now, personally, when I moisturize my hair, I usually follow the same process every time, even though most weeks I am actually alternating products because I'll use products from different brands. I'll try them out, review them, post about them online, that sort of thing. But I usually follow the same process, which is I use a leave-in conditioner, then I'll use something like a curl cream or whatever curling product, just something else for moisture as well. And then I'll use a gel or a styling product like a curl custard or something along those lines, and then I'll follow it up with oil. So I actually I insert the styling product in between the curl cream and the oil. That's kind of just personal preference, but then there's also a purpose behind it, because using an oil after you use a gel can help to break the gel cast so your hair isn't so hard. So that's what I usually do. I'll use a leave-in conditioner, then I'll use some sort of curl cream, then I'll use a styling product like a gel or a curl custard, and then I'll use the oil, and I'll usually spray it like in a mist form, and that's how I'll keep my hair moisturized for sometimes it can go up to 2 weeks. So if that doesn't sell you on the fact that the LOC method or this method works, then I don't know what will. Now, notice I didn't say much about hair porosity, but hair porosity does tie into this. The reason that I want you to think about this as more of a principle as adding moisture to your hair and then retaining moisture to your hair is because I don't want you to get caught up in all the tiny details, like should you use this product or should you use that product, or should I replace the shea butter with oil, or should I use this? The key concept here is that you want to add moisture to your hair and then help to retain that moisture. Now, the way that your hair porosity comes into this is because we've already covered that hair porosity is almost like a spectrum, right? With high porosity hair, it's easier for your hair to absorb moisture and it's easier for it to lose it as well. So it has a problem with retaining moisture. Now with low porosity hair, it's harder for your hair to absorb that moisture, but it's harder for it to lose it. Once the water gets into your hair, it's harder for it to lose it. So it has an easier time with water retention. When you think about your hair porosity when it comes to these methods, just think of leaning more towards retaining moisture and leaning more towards adding moisture. So for example, with high porosity hair, you're going to want to lean more to retaining moisture. So you might want to use a heavier cream or a heavier oil so you can really lock that moisture in there. Whereas with low porosity hair, you're going to want to focus more on products that are going to add moisture to your hair, that are going to add water to your hair. So you might want to get a leave-in conditioner that has a lighter consistency, or use a lighter oil, because you know low porosity hair has a problem with product buildup, so you don't want to use those really heavy products. You might want to use something lighter that has more water content in it to actually get that moisture into the cuticles of your hair. So just remember, when it comes to the LOC/LCO method, it's all about adding moisture to your hair and adding something that's going to help you retain that moisture for majority of the week.